The title for this episode specifically came from a recent conversation I had with a new client. But let me take a minute and kind of explain that. So there's a new client in my coaching work, and we were taking a look. His main reason for wanting to work together was to reduce his insurance dependence. He has a PPO practice model, and he wants to reduce his insurance dependence. And so as I was getting to know him, I asked him if he knew exactly how much he was writing off to PPO plans. He said, no, I don't, Ari, because I enter my contracted fees. He has Open Dental in his practice management software. And he said, I enter my contracted fees. So because I enter my contracted fees, I can't pull a report from Open Dental and learn how much I'm writing off. I said, well, we can actually help you with that. I created, with Naren's help, a custom Excel spreadsheet calculator that with the 3 pieces of information will do a really good job of ballpark estimating how much you're writing off. So I'll leave the doctor's name anonymous to protect confidentiality and to be HIPAA compliant, but I'll share the details with you. This was an office that collected right at $1 million, and this was last year, collected right at $1 million, a little bit more, but he said we can round it to $1 million. And in his particular practice, 80% of his patients were PPO patients, 80%, which is very common in what we see. We usually see a high percentage, not a low percentage. So 80%. And in his case, his average adjustment, the difference between his usual fee and his contracted fee, we looked at some common procedures in his practice, and the average was a 42% discount. So we entered that. So in other words, if the service was a $1,000 UCR fee, he would get $1,000 if it was an uninsured patient, a cash patient. But if it was a PPO patient, which 80% of his patients are, he doesn't get $1,000. How much does he get, Naren?
He gets 42%. So that's, he gets $580.
He gets $580. He gets a 42% haircut. So he gets $580. Anyway, I put that in the spreadsheet and let the Excel spreadsheet do its magic. And here's what we discovered. He had to produce $1,537,000 in order to collect $1 million. Let me repeat that. He had to produce $1,537,000 in order to collect $1 million. In other words, his insurance adjustments were $537,000. And when I shared that with him, he made this statement. He said, Gary, I am working too hard for too little. The title of this podcast, working too hard for. He knew the amount he was adjusting off was huge, but he didn't know how much. And the next thing I told him, I said, Doctor, I want you to think of that number as a marketing expense. Why? Because you're paying the PPO plan to provide you with new patients. That it literally is now it's a marketing expense that'll never show up in your profit and loss statement. Right, Naren?
Absolutely, Gary. That's unfortunate, but it is the reality. So a lot of people don't even realize that.
They don't know what they're writing off.
Yeah, they don't know that they're writing off, and they don't know it's that big a number. I mean, like $537,000 every year for perhaps the last 10 years or 5 years, however long he has been practicing.
Or however long we continue.
Yes.
You know, and his comment, I'm working too hard for too little.
I think for me, the hard part is the key, right? It's not that he's getting too little, which is sad in itself, but he has to produce $1.537 million worth of dentistry every year, even though he only gets to, see $1 million as revenues.
Yeah, I want to be clear. This is not a collections problem. If you're listening kind of casually, you might think, oh my gosh, he had to produce $1,537,000, only collected $1 million. Is that a collections problem? No, it's not a collections problem. It's an adjustment problem. He is required to hand that over due to his PPO contracts. It's funny because we should all be good stewards of our expenses. We should make sure that we're spending money as effectively as we can, efficiently as we can. But there's a lot of dentists that will spend hours trying to save $1 on a box of gloves, not realizing that they wrote off $537,000 that you're handing to the PPO plans. So really, the best result, if you'd like to be remunerated more, would be to reduce those adjustments, successfully resign from those PPO plans.